Sometimes our neurodivergent teens get totally overwhelmed and then get stuck. And sometimes we don't know how to help them. But there are things that we can do to help them keep moving forward and not stay overwhelmed. In this video, we're going to talk about what you can do in the moment when your neurodivergent teen is overwhelmed and what you can do proactively to help them overcome that overwhelm and to keep moving forward and not get stuck. Hey, I'm Crystal Wagner. I'm a professional life coach, and I'm an autistic ADHD mom with 2 neurodivergent daughters. This is something we live out on a daily basis. I like to think about the analogy that Dr. David Rock used in his book, Your Brain at Work, and he talks about when there are too many actors on a stage, it's hard to keep track of what's going on. There are so many moving parts. But if we can take some of that chaos, some of that activity off, our brains can focus on what's actually there. If we think about our teens, they might have too many things going on. Maybe because of their neurodivergence, they're thinking of all the things that they need to do, or they're not thinking about those things and they're thinking about all kinds of other things, and it's not all the right actors on the stage. But if we can help them learn how to sort some of that information and decide what's relevant in the moment and what they need to have off stage in the wings, it will be much easier for them to think through what's happening, to make a plan, and to actually execute it. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do in the moment to help your teen not feel so overwhelmed and not get stuck. First, acknowledge that they are stuck. They're overwhelmed. It happens to everyone, and it especially happens to those who are neurodivergent. You might try asking if they need fewer options. Sometimes having all the options on the stage at once makes it really challenging for them to think through and figure out what they need to do next and what their next actions are. Sometimes they may not know this is happening and that they need to have the options narrowed down. They may not know what level of support they need from you. So you may need to ask. Sometimes I've asked my daughters, do you want me to give you an open-ended plan, or do you want to have fewer options? And whenever I phrase it that way, they stop and they think, and then sometimes they'll come back and tell me, oh, actually, I have no idea. I need you to give me just like 2 options. Sometimes I can help them narrow it down without actually saying, here are the 2 options to choose from next. And I can give it a little bit broader categories. Other times I have to say, okay, what's the next thing? Do you need to eat, or do you need to pick up your books? I can kind of tell how overwhelmed they are because I've been working with them and been watching for their signals, and can offer my suggestions based on what I think I'm seeing. And sometimes I can tell by their response that they actually can handle more, or that I've hit it just right, that they need that really simple option. So it may take some practice, but you'll get the hang of what you need to ask and how broad or how narrow you need to make their options. You might be able to help them start to narrow it down on their own. Maybe they're not completely overwhelmed and they're just kind of stuck as to what to do next. And so you might be able to ask a question to help them think through, well, when you normally do this task, what are the steps that you normally take? Okay, well, where are you in that process? So sometimes they don't need super simple options. Sometimes they need a little bit of help getting started thinking through what to do next. Above all, allow them to choose. When you're giving them these options, this is just to help them think through it. As young adults, they need to own their decisions, and they need you to not step in and take control unless they truly are in a place of crisis. They need to develop the skills and the habits that can allow them to learn how to make these decisions on their own as they gain some experience, as they get things under control, where they can know how many actors can be on their stage at a time, and they can start making these decisions on their own. If we constantly step in and say, okay, we'll do this next, they won't learn those skills. But by modeling it and allowing them to see you asking the questions, allowing them to make the decisions, and then just walking them through the process, they start to see what that's like and they start to internalize that so that they can start making some decisions like that on their own and learn from the process and learn from you. I will say too, there have been times with my daughters that I have had to step in when they were in a crisis mode and say, I think the next thing you need to do right now is to get some food. Or I think you should go to sleep and let's reevaluate in the morning. When I do that, I'm never telling them, go do this thing. It is always phrased with, this is what it seems like you need in the moment. And then I'll say, what do you think? I'm still turning it back to them, even though I am being more active in the process and making suggestions as opposed to just offering options. You'll have to use your judgment to see where your teen or your young adult is to know, okay, is this a day that I can come in and offer options and just be a coach and help my teen think through the process? Or does my child need a little more support today because they're really overwhelmed, they're in crisis mode, and they're really not thinking straight? There are some things you can also do proactively to help your young adult develop these skills. One is to be watching and be observant. Start learning your child's typical behavior patterns, typical responses. When do they tend to get overwhelmed? What are some situations that makes them not able to think? When do they have too many actors on the stage? Kind of think through this and watch them as if you are trying to study the playbook and see how you could improve it. Then you might be able to have some conversations, not in the moment, but offline, like when things are calmer, and say, hey, remember when that happened the other day? What was most helpful for you? Was it helpful when I asked you some questions to think through the process? Or would you rather have had more support in that time? You might also talk to them about this concept of having too many actors on the stage. And when they see the stage so full and with all of the movement, how's that make them feel? What's the level of movement that they feel comfortable with? So that you can start helping them think through, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Okay, I have too much going on. What can I take away so that I can see the next steps? It's a lot about coaching them through the moment and then helping them think through the process so that they will be better equipped to do it on their own. And we know that this takes time. It won't happen overnight. It is something that they will learn, they will develop, and we have to patiently support them as they develop these skills. It's also really important to not get caught up in their emotions. Especially our neurodivergent teens, when they're overwhelmed, they can be in shutdown mode, their emotions can be high, they might lash out because they're angry or frustrated at themselves or the situation. They may think they're frustrated at you, and it can be real easy for us to get caught up and to react instead of respond in a calm manner. I'll link my other videos that I've talked about this, about how not to get caught up in your teens' emotions so that you can see some of the tips that I've mentioned in those videos to help you when you're going through this process with your teens too. I want to close by encouraging you to think about being a stage director and helping your teen think through the actions and the movements and who needs to be on the stage and who do they need to take off the stage for right now and what does that actually mean for them in this moment and in these unique situations. If you can think about that, where you're not trying to control it, but you're trying to help them see that big picture, you'll be able to equip them and help them continue developing the skills they need to be successful adults. As always, I'm here if you need anything. Send me a message or leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.